Good morning everybody and welcome back to Building Lego Hyrule Castle minifigure scale week 13, where today we're looking at something maybe a tad inconspicuous and we've got some other files, but as of right now we are above the prison. So just like we did with our docks segment in the last couple of weeks, I took a trace of the outside of the cliff wall from the segment below, and then I've started to build up the rock work around a frame for our next wall segment. So this is deliberately sitting directly above the prison entrance, and I'll actually be showing you that today. However, we've got a couple more bits to take a look at with this one. So if you'll remember from the slopes we looked at last week, you've got your trees down here at the bottom and it curves up and around, joining this green portion here, which as you can see is exactly on the same level. Well, almost. And what this does is, instead of having just a very awkward transition, it merges this normal part of the slope into the Technic frame here, and it sits out as like a piece of decoration, and it will be tiled in the flat in the top, like I'll show you in a minute. But then apart from that, you've just got your normal rocky edges, a couple of snot techniques down here, and this blends in all around the edges of the pink frame. Remember, the pink is a colour that can be any colour. That's the whole point of it. And I'm going to do a little bit more work in this file, so I'll show you what I come up with. But we're going to plate this off, and we're going to start faffing with maybe how the slope's going to continue. I need to know how this is going to eat into this plate, but I'm going to go work on that now. And ironically there, I've pretty much finished this plate. Now, that's almost an exaggeration, because it's not quite, but the point being is that it's all tiled off, and this here actually is the maximum height for this one. It's a very small gap up to the next level. There are quite a lot of similar height plateaus. You've got this one here, then a big long one which has another wall on, but basically we're going to plot a wall all the way along up onto this next plate. So it's a very small incline to make that look decent. However, one of the biggest things we've done apart from tile this off is continue this area up to full height. So this is all still attached to the plate, but you'll notice the tiles on the top for the slope to continue, and we're also starting to prepare, at least on this side, for the backtrack, or as I would call it. So you've got your slope that comes up here in the bottom, but then it also then backtracks here to continue up above what will be the docks entrance, which we already have. So I'm interested to do those plates and just link it all together, continue this green slope up. It's a nice sort of landmark piece, and you can see here that the rock work is getting smaller and smaller as the grass gets closer, and then it will all merge into grass, and the grass will backpedal up here whenever we get there. And on the other side, obviously, we're going to have a wall segment here, so I haven't taken this across any further. We'll deal with that next week. Obviously, it needs to be grasses. Again, can't do that until after the wall segment, but mostly this might not look like much, but it's obviously incredibly challenging, and it gives you another aspect into how this castle is going to work. And it's actually our second A-level plate, which is pretty exciting, you know, if you ask me. Awesome to see, and I'm still really pleased with the texturing. Obviously we still need to do our stone path up here, but again, that will come in the later phase with the detailing and the plants. And I still think this rock work technique around here works. However, you'll have to be the judge of that. But anyway, let's get on with that wall plot. I really want to try and see if that wall template we made the other week can literally just be copy and pasted and then textured in a different style. I'm really hoping that we can save some time on this project by making sure that all the wall segments are the same. However, once again, you guys will be the judge of that when we give it a go. So I want to at least get the wall plot done before we go back to our other wall segment, the A1 segment, which you guys gave me some brilliant feedback on a couple of weeks back, and I want to implement that because I'm finally in the mood for texturing again, which is not something I say very often. But anyway, let's do that wall plot. And my oh my, this file is just a little bit laggy. I don't know if it's picking up on your screen, but it's definitely starting to tank my computer just a little bit with its size. So again, I think we'll be splitting this one up, but I want to try and show you guys these overviews at least as much as I humanly can, and this gives you the context of this is the one we were working on up here with the white lines on it, which we'll get to in just a second. But for that little bit of context, once again, I said, of course, we're below our prison entrance. I highly recommend you go and watch that stuff. Still haven't done the wall on this side, waiting for whatever we do up here just to check height clearances and things. But you can see how that just sits nicely above our trees. And then you go up the green path, which is almost continuous. I mean, I doubt you could even find the joins, at least on the green part. Yeah, I know it's a tad on the obvious side here in particular. This is noticeable, but I think remembering that you're going to be looking at it more like this when it's done, I mean, I can't tell the difference from this far out, and I made it. So that's pretty cool. One of the next jobs I do want to work on, though, is going to be this wall here. I'm hoping to do this next week. I want to get this up to height. It'd be a nice, easy win. But once again, it just proves how satisfyingly these plateaus look, which I just really, really love. And you can also see over here, I don't remember if I showed you this before, but this plate is also now up to the same height as this tile across here, meaning when we do the wall in future weeks, it means we can continue the B plate and then do this next Technic layer that will go above here at this height. And you can see actually that this is the full height of the ground floor module. This is the designated cube height, as I call it. So that will come into play as we go, well, that way. Anyway, that's not quite important right now. That will come into play in the future weeks. As for what I promised with the wall plot, you can see here my rough plan. So this white line along here lines up with both ends of the rockwork, and that is the rough face of the cliff that goes up to this tile height here. And then you've got these two curves here, which are about 6 studs apart all the way. And this is the general-ish plot or plan for the wall segment that's going to go on top of this one. And of course I'm going to get to that next week, but I just wanted to see how it was going to look, and I'm pretty happy with that. But as far as wall segments that you guys actually know, let's jump straight back into the A1 and fingers crossed hopefully finish that one up for, well, almost good. So this should be a very familiar sight. We left last week with, a couple of weeks ago now, wow, time really flies, with a couple of suggestions, and I think the biggest one, of course, was to tone back the texturing, which you can see very clearly here. I've definitely toned it back, makes it look a little bit less like a zebra, while still looking nice and worn. We've got a couple of close-ups to take a look at, but firstly I want to address a couple of other brilliant suggestions we had. Chests. Of course, there would be a chest up here or in here somewhere. I need to go back in the game and research what that is, where it is, and I will be adding it even though this is pre-calamity. Of course, the castle will still have storage and things. And I do also like the idea that was suggested by Pixel Bricks, which was to add a ruined guardian that's being excavated. So not one that could attack Link, but one that's being discovered by Sheikah workers. And there's definitely something I want to implement. I've just got to work out the scale. It's a bit more difficult to do creatures like that. So coming in a future part, maybe when I get my act together. But anyway, the biggest change here was, of course, the texturing. If you guys remember from a previous week, we had all of this, and it was just too much. Like the first two were fine, but then this whole tower segment was basically all dark bluish grey. So I started by turning it and tuning it back a bit, and then I added some more 1x1 rounds. I played around with a couple of new pieces in here, and then just kept it really, really minimal as we go up the tower. And then even as we continue round, you can see I've added a couple more flower elements. We've got some olive green walls here with some red flowers that are like a trailing vine up. I also finished the grass all the way around, and I think this vine really adds to it, along with these 3 stem bushes, and added a little bit of rocks into the middle, as well as some more flowers around the tower base, trying to keep things random, and a couple of indented stems here. Now the reason I hesitate on saying that this module is done, well, 1, because of the details that I may or may not still add, but also 2, because I've still got to do this back wall, and that is why this giant white pillar is here, because that is the height that this grey wall needs to go up to, which is sort of crazy. But yeah, no, it's got to go all of that ways up, which is kind of impressive. I'm also sort of waiting for its adjacent plate, like the one that's going to go here above the docks entrance, just so that the rockwork's actually going to line up and all of that jazz. But you can see obviously the rocks are coming in here. We just got to keep going, and obviously I've got to grass up the inside, and that will involve raising all of these by one plate because I was an idiot when I was building it. But that's sort of besides the point, and that will happen in due course. So we don't have to rush things. We got plenty of time. Oh, you'll also notice I didn't texture the inside of the wall. Even I have my limits. Texturing is an incredibly slow job, and I really, really think that you're never going to see that side of the wall. All of the details are there. Everything that's architecturally important. It's windbreaked, so I might add a couple of bits of texturing, but definitely not to this level because, again, remember, the main viewing angle for the castle is like this. There'll be a giant mountain and sanctum in the way, and even if you come round the back, you're going to be looking at this, and if you're looking down, even directly above it, you can't see it. The only time you're going to see this thing, which is going to be barricaded by a grey wall on this side and protected by a lovely bit of texturing on the outside, it is so insanely unlikely that I really don't want to deal with it, at least not now. But then again, if you guys are like, Octane, you got to make good on your promise, this is going to be the best minifigure heart castle, I will go and do it. So let me know down below. However, I also do want some feedback on this texturing. I'm a lot more happy with it. I think if I'm happy with it, and it's a general sign that you guys might be as well, but obviously if you guys are still spotting some glaring errors apart from things I've already mentioned, please do let me know. Obviously you guys have a better eye, I'm way too close to it, so please, is this the right amount of texturing, the right amount of colour? What do we still need to see from this? I know it's still hard to sort of tell, there's so much still missing, but that is all I've got to show you today. So anyway, consider subscribing. Let me know all your feedback on all 3 of these modules this week. Bit of a smaller this week with sort of housekeeping, finishing up some modules, so I've got less open projects. But my eye is starting to turn away from the prison and towards the water pump room, which is going to be interesting because not only is this a room, but it also establishes the base of Zelda's tower, which is sort of almost like a checkpoint to make sure that I'm on schedule with like the way that the squares squeeze together. Because if this tower is misaligned by more than one square, according to my castle blueprint, we could have some issues. So that will be an interesting thing coming up in the next couple of weeks. However, as I said, let me know what you thought down below. Consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.